Good morning and welcome back to the channel. I appreciate you tuning in today. We're continuing on First Chronicles, but in a moment. But first, I should say, Father, as I read and receive your word, may it deeply be rooted in me, so when difficulty comes, it will be your word that encourages and strengthens me. Amen. We're going to start at chapter 9 today. All Israel was listed in the genealogical record in the book of the kings of Israel. The returning exiles. The people of Judah were exiled to Babylon because they were unfaithful to the Lord. The first to return to the property in the former towns were common people. When they came, some of the priests, Levites, and temple assistants, people from the tribes of Judah, Benjamin, Ephraim, and Manasseh, came and settled in Jerusalem. One family that returned was that of Uzziah, son of Ammihud, son of Omri, son of Imri, son of Bani, a descendant of Perez, son of Judah. Others returned from the Shilonite clan, including Asaiah the oldest and his sons. From the Zerahite clan, Jaul returned with his relatives. In all, 690 families from the tribe of Judah returned. From the tribe of Benjamin came Salu, son of Meshullam, son of Hodaviah, son of Hasar Enua, Ibniah, son of Jeraham, Elah, son of Uzi, son of Mikri, Meshullam, son of Shephatiah, son of Ruel, son of Ibnijah. These men were all leaders of clans, and they were listed in their tribal genealogy. In all, 956 families from the tribe of Benjamin returned. The returning priests. Among the priests who returned were Jedaiah, Jehoiarib, Jachin, Azariah, son of Hilkiah, son of Meshullam, son of Zadok, son of Meraiaoth, son of Ahitub. Azariah was the chief officer of the house of God. Other returning priests were Adiah, son of Jeroham, son of Pashur, son of Malchijah, and Maseh, son of Adiel, son of Jazariah, son of Meshullam, son of Meshullamith, son of Immer. In all, 1,760 priests returned. They were heads of clans and very able men. They were responsible for ministering at the house of God. The returning Levites. The Levites who returned were Shemiah, son of Hashub, son of Azrikam, son of Hashabiah, a descendant of Merari, Bakbakur, Haresh, Gali, Mantataniah, son of Micah, son of Zikri, son of Asaph, Obadiah, son of Shemiah, son of Gala, son of Jeduthun, and Berika, son of Asa, son of Elkanah, who lived in the area Netophah. The gatekeepers who returned were Shalom, Akab, Talmon, Ahiman, and their relatives. Shalom was the chief gatekeeper. Prior to this time, they were responsible for the king's gate at the east side. These men served as gatekeepers for the camps of the Levites. Shalom was the son of Korah, a descendant of Abasaph, from the clan of Korah. He and his relatives, the Korahites, were responsible for guarding the entrance to the sanctuary, just as their ancestors had guarded the tabernacle and the camp of the Lord. Phinehas, son of Eleazar, had been in charge of the gatekeepers in earlier times, and the Lord had been with him. And later, Zechariah, son of Meshelemiah, had been responsible for guarding the entrance of the tabernacle. In all, there were 212 gatekeepers in those days, and they were listed by genealogies in their villages. David and Samuel, the seer, had appointed their ancestors because they were reliable men. These gatekeepers and their descendants, by their divisions, are responsible for guarding the entrance of the house of the Lord, the house that was formerly a tent. The gatekeepers were stationed on all four sides, east, west, north, and south. From time to time, the relatives in the villages came to share their duties for 7-day periods. The 4 chief gatekeepers, all Levites, were in an office of great trust, for they were responsible for the rooms and treasuries of the house of God. They would spend the night around the house of God, since it was their duty to guard it. It was also their job to open the gates every morning. Some of the gatekeepers were assigned to care for the various utensils used in worship. They checked them in and out to avoid any loss. Others were responsible for the furnishings, the items in the sanctuary, and the supplies such as choice flour, wine, olive oil, incense, and spices. But it was the priests who prepped the spices and incense. Mattathiah, a Levite and the oldest son of Shalom, the Korahite, was entrusted with baking the bread used in the offerings. And some members of the clan of Kohath were in charge of preparing the bread to be set on the table each Sabbath day. The musicians, all prominent Levites, lived at the temple. They were exempt from other responsibilities there, since they were on duty at all hours. All these men lived in Jerusalem. They were the heads of the Levite families, who were listed as prominent leaders in their tribal genealogy. King Saul's family tree. Jeiel, father of Gibeon, lived in Gibeon. His wife was Maacah, and his oldest son was Abdon. Jael's other sons were Zur, Kish, Baal, Ner, Nadab, Gedor, Ahio, Zechariah, Mikloth. And Mikloth was the father of Shimeon. All these families lived near each other in Jerusalem. Ner was the father of Kish. Kish was the father of Saul. Saul was the father of Jonathan, Malchishua, Abinadab, and Eshbal. Jonathan was the father of Meribal. Meribal was the father of Micah. The sons of Micah were Pithon, Melech, Tariah, and Ahaz. Ahaz was the father of Jada. Jada was the father of Alameth, Asmiath, and Zimri. Zimri was the father of Moza. Moza was the father of Binea. Binea's son was Raphaiah. Raphaiah's son was Alicia. Alicia's son was Azel. Azel had 6 sons, and their names were Azrikam, Bachoru, Ishmael, Shariah, Obadiah, Hanan. They were the sons of Azel. The death of King Saul. Now the Philistines attacked Israel, forcing the Israelites to flee. Many were slaughtered on the slopes of Mount Gilboa. The Philistines closed in on Saul and his sons, and they killed 3 of his sons, Jonathan, Abinadab, Malchishua. The fighting grew very fierce around Saul, and the Philistine archers caught up with him and wounded him severely. Saul groaned to his armor-bearer, "Take your sword and run me through before these pagan Philistines come and humiliate me." But his armor-bearer was afraid and would not do it. So Saul took his own sword and fell on it. Then his armor-bearer realized that Saul was dead. He fell on his own sword and died. So Saul and his 3 sons died there together, bringing his dynasty to an end. When the Israelites in Jezreel Valley saw that their army had been routed and that Saul and his sons were dead, they abandoned their towns and fled, so the Philistines moved in and occupied their towns. The next day, when Philistines went out to strip the dead, they found the bodies of Saul and his sons on Mount Gilboa. So they stripped off Saul's armor and cut off his head. Then they proclaimed the news of Saul's death before their idols and to the people throughout the land of Philistia. They placed his armor in the temple of their gods, and they fastened his head to the wall in the temple of Dagon. But when the people of Jabesh-Gilead heard that the Philistines had done to Saul, their warriors went out and brought the bodies of Saul and his 3 sons back to Jabesh. Then they buried their remains beneath the oak tree at Jabesh, and they fasted for 7 days. So Saul died because he was unfaithful to the Lord. He failed to obey the Lord's command, and he even consulted a medium, instead of asking the Lord for guidance. So the Lord killed him and turned his kingdom over to David, son of Jesse. David becomes the king of all Israel. Then all Israel went to David at Hebron and told him, "We are all members of your family. For a long time, even when Saul was our king, you were the one who really led Israel. And the Lord your God has told you, you will be shepherd of my people Israel. You will be their leader. So there at Hebron, David made a covenant with the leaders of Israel before the Lord. They anointed him king of Israel, just as the Lord had promised through Samuel. David captures Jerusalem. Then David and all Israel went to Jerusalem, or Jebus, as it used to be called. When the Jebusites, original inhabitants of the land, lived, the people of Jabesh said to David, "You will never get in here." But David captured the fortress of Zion, now called the City of David. David said to his troops, "Whoever leads the attack against the Jebusites will become the commander of my armies." And Joab, the son of David's sister, Zeruiah, led the attack. So he became the commander of David's armies. David made the fortress his home, and that is why it is called the City of David. He extended the city from the Milo to the surrounding area, while Joab rebuilt the rest of Jerusalem. And David became more and more powerful, because the Lord Almighty was with him. David's mightiest men. These are the leaders of David's mighty men. Together with all Israel, they determined to make David their king, just as the Lord had promised concerning Israel. Here is a record of David's mightiest men. The first was Jashobeam, the Hachmonite, who was commander of the three. All three greatest warriors among David's men. He once used his spear to kill 300 enemy warriors in a single battle. Next in rank among the three was Eleazar, son of Dodaiah, a descendant of Ahoah. He was with David in the battle against the Philistines at Pas-dammim. The battle took place in the field full of barley, and the Israelite army fled. But Eleazar and David held their ground in the middle of the field and beat back the Philistines. So the Lord saved them by giving them a great victory. Once when David was at the rock near the cave of Adullam, the Philistine army was camped in the valley of Rephaim. The three, who were among the 30, an elite group among David's fighting men, went down to meet him there. David was staying in the stronghold at the time, and the Philistine detachment had occupied the town of Bethlehem. David remarked longingly to his men, "Oh, how I would love some of that good water from the well in Bethlehem, the one by the gate." So the three broke through the Philistine lines, drew some water from the well, and brought it back to David. But David refused to drink it. Instead, he poured it out before the Lord. "God forbid that I should drink this," he exclaimed. "This water is as precious as the blood of these men who risked their lives to bring it to me." So David did not drink it. This is an example of the exploits of the three. David's 30 mighty men. Abishai, the brother of Joab, was the leader of the 30. He once used his spear to kill 300 enemy warriors in a single battle. It was by such feats that he became as famous as the three. Abishai was the most famous of the 30 and was their commander, though was not one of the three. There was also Benaiah, son of Jehoiada, the valiant warrior from Kabzeel. He did many heroic deeds, which included killing 2 of Moab's mightiest warriors. Another time he chased a lion down into a pit. Then, despite the snow and slippery ground, he caught the lion and killed it. Another time, armed with only a club, he killed an Egyptian warrior who was 7.5 feet tall, and whose spear was as thick as a weaver's beam. Benaiah wrenched the spear from the Egyptian's hand and killed him with it. These are some of the deeds that made Benaiah famous as the three. He was more honored than the other members of the 30, though he was not one of the three, and David made him commander of his bodyguard. There also was included among David's mighty men Asahel, Joab's brother, Ethanan, son of Dodo from Bethlehem, Shammah from Harod, Helez from Pilon, Ira, son of Ikesh from Tekoa, Abiezar from Anathoth, Sibekiah from Husha, Zalman from Ahoah, Mahari from Netophah, Helid, son of Bani from Netophah, Ithiah, son of Ribiah from Gibeah, from the tribe of Benjamin, Benaiah from Pirathon, Hurray from near Nahali Gash, Abi-Albon the Arbathite, Asmith from Bahurim, Eliba from Shalbon, the sons of Jashan from Gizon, Jonathan son of Shagi from Harar, Ahiam son of Sharar from Harar, Eliphal son of Hefer from Mechera, Ahijah from Pelon, Hezro from Carmel, Parari son of Ezbiah, Joel the brother of Nathan, Mibhar son of Hagri, Zelek from Ammon, Nahari from Beroth, Job's armor-bearer, Ira from Jatir, Gareb from Jatir, Uriah the Hittite, Zabad son of Ahalai, Adonah son of Shiza, the Reubenite leader who had 30 men with him, Hanan son of Makkah, Josaphat from Mitna, Uzziah from Ashtaroth, Shammah and Jeiel, the sons of Hotham from Aror, Jadel son of Shimri, Joas his brother from Tiz, Eliel from Mahava, Jerubai and Joshaviah, the sons of Elnam, Ithma from Moab, Eliel and Obed, Joshiel from Zobah. Now, I already forgot why all these names were being read. So what are they? Oh, they were David's mighty men. Okay. See, I got lost in all the names. Anyway, so that's the end of today. Thank you so much for joining me. We'll continue tomorrow on First Chronicles. Until then, have a great day and a blessed day. Bye.